Welcome back to the Upper Tier Podcast, the football podcast we bring you each and every week on the Dynamo Podcast Network. Head over to YouTube, smash that subscribe and bell notification button. Also, our audio versions of the shows are available on Anchor, so wherever you pick up your audio shows, you'll find the Upper Tier there. Also, if you want to get in touch with the show, we're available on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Wherever you practice your socials, you'll pick us up there. If you want to come on the show or a topic you'd like us to discuss, you can hit us up there, PM or DM us. And joining me today, my partner from the Transfer Show and the Four Pod Men, Dean. Welcome back, man.
Hola, amigo.
Excellent. So we said we'd jump on based on the fallout from during the week there and the exit from the Champions League. And I know this has been on the tips of Liverpool fans' tongues now for a long time. Do we require a change up front? And if we do, what do we think that change might look like? Is it a change of personnel? Is it a change of positioning? Is players thinking about leaving? Who would we replace them with? What would we replace them with? What you're thinking on it when we discuss, obviously, the front three have been absolutely amazing for us the last 3 years.
Put it simply, I just think we need a reboot. This season has been kind of, you have three seasons of almost perfection. You know what I mean? Like you lose the league by a point. Not many people expected what we were going to do last season to take it up another level from what looked like it didn't look like there was another level possible, and we took it up to another level. And this season, I think, has just signified how much of a toll that took on this team. You take the injuries into account. I'm not using them as an excuse, but you take the injuries into account. There's lads who there's almost 85% of that team who haven't had a break in 3 years. And it's taken its toll. And then, as I said the other night, you look at the likes of Oxlade-Chamberlain, Shaqiri, Origi, it's all well and good coming into a team when everything is perfect. You know, when you're winning trophies, everyone's on a high inside the club and outside the club. When it comes to it and you're really asked to dig deep and help out that team, them three to me don't have that about them to come in and turn a game around, or come in and play an extended run of games where other lads can take a rest and will understand that they're being rested because they need it. So for me, I think the end of the season can't come quick enough, but the 7 games now between now and the end of the season are going to take a massive toll on players as well, because this is 7 European Cup finals. If we want to take that step next season, we need to get Champions League football. I know a lot of Liverpool fans are saying, is it a bad thing? To me, it is, because you always want to be at the top table. And I just think the end of the season can't come quick enough. But regarding transfers, the 3 names I mentioned, I'd like to see them moved on. No disrespect to them, but I'd like to see them moved on, and just a refresh in them positions, fresh faces. I'd love to see Mo. I'd love to see the 3 boys staying. You have Jota there, but I was reading reports that there's an offer being put together for Suarez to come back. And as I said to yourself in text, I'd be I'd be over the moon. I'd be extremely happy if Suarez came in and the 3 boys stayed. I just don't want to see anyone in the front 3 moved on. Sadio's having a bad season, but class is permanent. Mo Salah, his stats speak for himself. We can't afford to lose that out of the team, because what happens if the player that comes in to replace them, doesn't take us to that next level, that doesn't settle in, and it's just a disaster. It's a massive step backwards. So I'm quite anxious about the summer, but I'm also looking forward to it. So yeah, let's see where we go.
Yeah, it's kind of key to get competition in there, isn't it, really? Because the 3 lads are very comfortable in the far as they know they're going to get picked. They know they're generally going to start. I know Jota's come in and created a little bit of that competition, and obviously went out injured then when he was really playing well, and he's come back.
He was a massive loss.
Yeah, and he's come back and he hasn't been too bad, but you can still see he's missing a little bit of sharpness from the injury and
That
stuff like
rust
that,
about him, yeah.
What's your thinking on Mane? I know he had COVID, didn't he? Do you reckon he's suffering a little bit from this long COVID or something? That he seems drained of energy, like.
You know, we don't. We none of us know exactly what the after effects of COVID are. Unless you've suffered with it, which I haven't personally, thankfully. But unless you've suffered with it, you can't tell what each other person is feeling, because apparently the side effects and the after effects of this are completely different in everybody. Havertz at Chelsea got it. He's really young, and it's affected him. He said it publicly. It's affected him a lot. Mane, I've been guilty in the last few weeks of saying he looks disinterested, but when I watched back, I texted this morning. I watched the end of the Storm, the documentary this morning, and there's a part where Mane is talking about the mental health and how it's all in the head. He said, but if it does creep in, it does a lot of damage. And I can see after watching that part of the documentary and seeing how he is now, I believe that he's suffering that himself, not having the family around, not being able to get out much, not getting to the mosque to pray, see friends. I know you're in with the club every day, but from the outside looking in, the actual team mentality at the moment isn't what it was. You can see that everybody's suffering. So it's not just Mane. I think just because of Mane's stature in the team and what he's done the last few years, it's magnified. You know what I mean? So, as I said, the season can't finish quick enough. These guys need a refresh, just to switch off for 3 or 4 weeks and just get their thoughts together. Because when you watch that documentary and the emotion I felt watching that, you see the bond in the team, you see that togetherness. You hear Henderson saying that Gini, Virgil, Milner and Henderson are the OGs in the squad. They're who everybody goes to. The lads don't have that on a daily basis anymore now. So we will get that back. Look, we will turn this around. But regarding Mane, it's not just him. It's just being magnified because of his stature in the team and what's expected of him.
Yeah, we're hearing today now that Liverpool are not going to meet the demands of Gini Wijnaldum for the new contract that he wants, and that it looks like he's going to move on. A thing that we might consider, is it worth taking Firmino out of that front line and dropping him back slightly deeper into that role that he really operates well in, and finding another sort of like a centre forward or something like that to slot into that third position? Is there a case for that, do you think? Or
yeah, well, when the team came out the other night, I was expecting. I was talking to my dad about it, and I was like, right, we were sitting at the back garden. I was like, right, well, how do we approach this tonight? And he said, we have to be creative. We can't be cautious. He said, you obviously have to always be cautious, but we have to go for the juggler here. We can't sit around and wait, because when we sat around last week and waited, they ripped us to pieces.
Yeah.
But he said that he'd like to see Fabinho obviously in front of the defence, probably Thiago a bit deeper, and Firmino pulled back, because we've seen him play in that position before, and he, when he turns it on, he turns it on. When you're going into a game like Monday night or like Wednesday night, and you're trying to break these teams down, and like after a while, Real Madrid they kind of just absorbed the pressure. And I believe that when you're putting on players and you're under pressure with a lot of the game already passed by, that some people can't take that pressure, and you don't change a game. But I believe if he'd have played Firmino a bit deeper, played Jota up front, I think we would have created more chances. And I know we had about 25 and we missed the 25 of them, but maybe if we'd have created 50, we'd have scored 2. So you take it with a pinch of salt. I think Jurgen knows that he got the selection for both games off. And yeah, as I said, I don't want to see Bobby go. I love Bobby to bits. He's my favourite player. I don't want to see Bobby leave the club. But if Gini's decided enough, I'm out, off you go. Credit to you. Thanks for everything. But instead of reinvesting the money and just replacing Gini solely, why don't you look at playing Thiago a bit? bit deeper in that role and play Bobby back, and just have a rebuild, have a refresh for next season, a different idea.
Yeah. See, I find when Bobby's in the front three and he starts playing that deeper role, because the two boys at the moment are playing out so wide, there's absolutely nothing going on ahead of him in the box. And I find that to be a real problem. And I think that's a lot of where our creative has fallen off a lot. I find these days, Salah's always out very wide. I find Mane's always out very wide. So when Bobby drops deep and picks up the ball, there's absolutely nothing in front of him in the box in terms of, making those more central runs rather than going wide all the time. I mean, how often have we seen it this season where Salah's nearly out where Trent is? You know what I mean? And then that sort of attacking into the box isn't there. You know what I mean? It has to be that inch precise, perfect cross or pass to become a goal. Whereas I think where I think if we got more people in the box, I think we'd have more of an attacking threat. Like I think as you said, if Thiago pushed on a little bit more, or if we had Bobby maybe operating in that kind of role with Thiago maybe in the Genie role and maybe Jota up front with the two boys, we'd have a lot more attacking options going through the centre and not be so reliant on Trent and Robbo and Mane and Salah out wide all the time, trying to create those little 1-2s and triangles and trickery, I just think it's it's one just to think about. I mean, it's very hard to talk about this because the enjoyment and the memories and, the emotion that these three boys up front have given us. But, everyone says that, a partnership always runs its course eventually, and we can't keep on relying on Salah all the time to come up with the goals. I mean, our goals, it's fair to assume, especially this season, the goals in the team are not shared around whatsoever. We've been heavily reliant on Mo again, and we do rely on Mo for goals anyway. But Bobby and Sadio, Bobby especially, his conversion rate needs to become a hell of a lot better in that position, or else drop him into that deeper role and start playing Jota, whose conversion rate is generally pretty good.
Do you know what the strange thing about it is? Like, we don't have a genuine out-and-out striker, and you look at the amount of goals that we have scored over the last 4 years. But then you look at this season, you look at the amount of chances we've missed. If this team had an out and out number 10, it's a scary thought. If we could get in someone who's going to score 25 plus goals a season up front, like a Torres, we'd put teams to the sword like that. As I said, it's all about refresh with this team. I don't want to see the only names I want to see leave are the obvious ones. What I consider deadwood in the team. See what you can generate from themselves. We haven't had a crazy amount of investment in the team outside of big sales. I don't want to go back to a summer of, as much as people are saying Salah looks like he doesn't want to be there. I've been guilty of saying it myself the last few weeks. When I look at his stats, we can't afford to lose that out of the team. And I do believe that when the summer comes, you get the first day of pre-season or the team's called in for a meeting. I think they all know and understand that this team, if we get that togetherness and that closeness back again, and everyone gets that bit of hunger back in the summer, we proved it for 3 years, we can put anybody to the sword. That's why I don't want to go back to sell to buy. I don't want to lose our best attacker. I want to add to that and scare teams, because look at teams over the year. All great teams need that recycle after a few years. This team needs a refresh, a reboot, 3 or 4 new faces in, and I do believe we can definitely get back to that level.
Yeah, I was saying to Wayne, one of the lads who comes on our show, the Man City fan, Wayne, good lad. I was talking to him the other night after the Champions League, and I was saying to him, if we had had Aguero, we would have probably scored 3 or 4 the other night. Yeah. You know what I mean? And he's just a natural kind of finisher, that way.
He's like Robbie Fowler.
Yeah, and scores all sorts of goals. What about, talking about Mo, obviously we wouldn't like to lose Mo. But he's coming into the second last year of his contract. So he's going to be negotiating. I know his agent or his solicitor that he used, whatever it is talking about, paying him now what you believe he's worth. That for the last 3 seasons, he's been, golden boot, top scorer, blah, 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 blah. We know what he's been. He's been unbelievable for the club. What about if we can't come to an agreement with him? What about if we can't throw him what he feels he believes? we're going to have to be put into a position where we might have to consider moving him on if we can't come to an agreement. Probably not by the summer, but certainly by January.
You read all sorts of rumours. I was telling you about what the agent said about him being one of the best, in the top 5 best players in the world for the last 3 or 4 years, paying what he deserves. I don't believe in all this crazy money. I do think if you're good enough, you get paid what you're worth. And in the world of football today, unfortunately, if you're anyway half decent, you're fucking taking home 350 grand. It's disgraceful when you look at the poverty, and I'm not going to preach about all that shit, but you get where I'm coming from. So we're not wanting him to leave, and he's coming into, I think it's his last year of his contract in June, I believe it is.
Second last year.
Right. So he's at a crossroads. Does he want to stay at Liverpool and be successful again, or does he want to leave and be criticised then that he only wanted money? Because that's what it looks like. So, it's a tough situation for a fan, because as much as he frustrates the life out of you love seeing him scoring goals. You know what I mean? You want to see him doing a Liverpool shirt and someone else's shirt. It's a tough one, but they all try and come out and say, well, it's in the club's hands. You either say yes or no to the contract. You know what I mean? So you need to be open to the fans. You need to say, no, I want out. Don't lead us on. You know what I mean? I understand where Genie's coming from, but with the likes of Mo, he's adored at the club. But you can't keep coming out and saying that who knows what's in the future. You either want to stay at the club or you don't. And with your agent coming out and talking about money, what are we to believe? That all you want is money. So, it's not a good look for him. So either you sit down at the table, Liverpool give you the best offer they have, and if you want to be successful again, you sign it. If you don't, come out and tell the fans.
Yeah, it'd be a tough one to take, wouldn't it? Because the memories and the goals and everything that we've gone on this journey with him, he's been such a huge part of it. But again, I suppose I would say to fans, if they're listening or viewing us, like, if he doesn't want to re-sign, then we have to make those tough decisions. And one of those decisions would be, like, I mean, for instance, let's suppose we moved on Mo Salah and we sold him to PSG or Real Madrid or Barcelona, whoever it is, Juventus or whatever it is. But let's suppose the funds off that plus a little bit more was used to bring in potentially, say, a Kylian Mbappe. I mean,
or Erling Haaland.
Yeah, probably not Haaland, because his money is just stupid. But say the likes of a player at the level of, say, a Kylian Mbappe or something like that. How do you think that would be taken by the fans? How would you feel about that personally? Would that be okay? Would that work for you? Or would it still create a kind of a problem?
Come here, if someone turned around to me and said Salah is going to decide to leave in the summer because Liverpool have decided if they let it go down to his last year, you're not making money off him, so they've decided to sell him this year. If someone turned around and said Kylian Mbappe is going to come in and he's going to score even more than Mo Salah, you'd say, yeah, no problem. Off you go. But we don't know that. As good as Kylian Mbappe is, we don't know that he's going to come in and hit the ground running the Premier League, and 12 months waiting on someone at that kind of money to hit the ground running, we just don't have that. We don't have that time.
But then I suppose back then we took that risk when we signed Mo Salah. We took that risk when we signed Sadio Mane. Now, I know Sadio was playing in the Premiership with Southampton and all, but we still, we couldn't believe he became the Sadio Mane that he became at Liverpool when he was at Southampton. So, like, we took the risk with Mo Salah coming in. I know he was at Chelsea for a while, but he didn't really play that much. But we took him on the basis of playing in the Italian league, and he was good. He was successful there, but it was still a risk. Even though I know where you're coming from, probably right. We paid 38 million for him or something like that.
I'm not making it out that like I only want him to go. If we like every signing is a risk. You look at a lot of Liverpool's players. Like we signed Sadio Mane. A lot of fans were thinking, is this the big signing that Liverpool should be making? We signed Mo Salah and we were thinking, didn't do it at Chelsea. The money wasn't like crazy, but you're still thinking like this is a big signing. Like, what's going on here? Is he coming in just to sit on the bench and like push someone on, or and the two of them have turned out to be you know, as good as they've been. But like you look at Jordan Henderson, that was a risk, you know. Young kid came in, didn't settle into the team. He was supposed to be sold to Fulham. Told Brendan Rodgers he's staying to prove himself. You know, look what he's turned out to be. 75 million on Virgil van Dijk.
And we were laughed at. We were laughed at for that.
You know what I mean? Like, Allison, I know we've had a few boo-boos in the last few months, but come here, the guy lost his father suddenly. You know, it's going to have a lasting effect on a lot of people. 70 odd million for him. People were thinking 70 odd million on a goalkeeper. You know, Liverpool have taken a lot of big risks and they've paid off. So, look, if he wants to go, he goes. The pipe dream obviously is Mbappe. But I do think there are a few hidden gems out there with that kind of money. As much as I'd love him to come in and, you know, like Kylian Mbappe, talked about the best player in the world, signing for Liverpool. But I as much Klopp would love it too, but I just don't see him sitting there and putting every single egg we have into one basket. You know what I mean? Yeah. You know, we love him as a player, but I think like the likes of a centre half, you know, you're reading one day that Konate is our main target, and then you're reading the next day that like there's nothing there at all. So, you know, work on the problem areas. Don't put everything into the one basket. But yeah, as you said, like the pipe dream would be Kylian Mbappe. I think anybody who signs Liverpool signs Mbappe is definitely going in the right direction.
Yeah, I think, I suppose, to summarise at the moment, as Liverpool fans, we're probably thinking, well, let's keep the three that we have at the moment. Let's see how those contract talks go. But what we need to do is bring in some sort of competition onto our bench, real competition to you know, to make these guys perform at a higher level. I mean, there's no doubt this year, the amount of chances we have squandered this year it's unforgivable, really, when you think.
I just asked you,
just the other night.
I just asked you, like the reports of, I texted you yesterday saying there's an offer being put together for Luis Suarez. How would you feel about that?
I don't know. I'd be in two minds about it, to be honest. I think if he comes in, I think he would definitely create competition. I don't know whether he wants to come in. I don't know whether he wants to move to sit on a bench with a World Cup coming up and stuff like that. I'd be very concerned. And I don't think he would take the place of any of the front three at the moment. I don't think he would, unless it's an injury. I tell you what would appeal to me, Aguero. If we could get Aguero in, and he could come in and was happy to be there, to be that kind of, not a bit part player, but a player who would generate that kind of competition. I think I'd be okay with that probably happening, you know. If our plan is not to sell, say, a Mo Salah and bring in Mbappe or a Haaland or someone at that level, you know what I mean? Yeah. But there's you think about strikers at the moment, there's not a huge amount of options out there at the moment, you know what I mean? Like, when you think about it, if we turned around tomorrow and said, right, we're selling Mo Salah and we want to bring in someone, I mean, we talk about, we've Mbappe, we've Haaland, Sancho maybe. I heard today Chelsea might be chasing up Jude off Dortmund.
Chelsea, Mammoth the Hill?
No, Jude Bellingham.
Oh, Jude Bellingham.
Yeah, and they're talking about 100 mil.
You know,
you know what I mean?
It's that lure of going back to England, going back to being close to your family. Yeah. I can't see that coming into fruition. I think he's enjoying himself over there. Yeah. It depends on, again, like I hate saying it, but it depends on what kind of money Chelsea are offering to, like, you know, you get to a point in a contract offer where you say to yourself, you know, I'm playing in Germany, I'm only a kid, I get that kind of money, move back to London, close to the family. It's a difficult situation, but who are Chelsea going to get rid of? You know, that he's only a kid. He's playing first team football in a good Dortmund side. Like, at that stage in your career, me personally, you're getting the chance to prove yourself. Stay where you're playing every week. Don't go into a team where there's so many superstars and you're going to play a third of the games in the season. You're not going to show what you're really about. At Dortmund, you are. Stay there. You're only a kid. You've 2 or 3 years over there before you come back, and you know, if you're good enough, you'll still do it in 3 or 4 years.
Yeah. So I suppose for ourselves at Liverpool, then, we're going to stick with the front three for the moment. Maybe a little bit of a rejig in terms of positions. We're going to see. We're going to monitor closely what happens with Salah's contract. And we're going to see. I mean, obviously, Klopp is interested in changing things around a little bit. He's certainly going to be pretty active this summer, I would imagine.
Also, sorry, before you go on there, also, it'd be interesting to see what Virgil van Dijk wants to do regarding the Euros. Yeah. Me personally, I hope he doesn't go, because nobody knows what kind of fitness level he's at the moment. I don't. If he goes there and breaks down and we miss him for 6 or 7, 8 months of next season, we're in a lot of trouble. So, I hope he's sensible in his decision there.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. As always, a pleasure to have you on. This is the Upper Tier Podcast, brought to you by the Dynamo Podcast Network on YouTube. Head over there, smash that subscribe and bell notification button. Also on Anchor for the audio versions of the shows. And we will talk to you again real soon. Thanks, Dean.
Adios.